The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gam Podcast Network is brought to you by Arctic Fantasy. The recommended customers pledge just $5 in honors one's funds. Use promo code NBA SGPN. And welcome everyone to the NBA Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gam Podcast Network. It's currently Friday morning, October 24th, around 11 a.m. Eastern. I'm Rose Rochelle, joined by Lonte and Scott. Together, we're going to break down the 12 games on the Friday NBA card. Couple of crazy games yesterday. So we had two separate overtime games. OKC went to double overtime again. SGA dropped 55. Ajay Mitchell at 20-plus points. Mathurin at 36 points and fouled out. Game was pretty crazy. And then we had an equally crazy game at the late slate as we ended up having the Nuggets who blew a lead late. Curry went crazy at 40 points, and we ended up seeing Aaron Gordon have 50 points, and the Nuggets still lost, which is pretty tough to do. But, Lonte, how's it going with you? How do you enjoy the games yesterday?
Man, loved it. Been enjoying the two slates that we had so far. So, man, it's been a great start to the NBA season, just both as a viewer and a bettor as well. But, yeah, man, hopefully this can continue. I mean, obviously not to this level, but, I mean, we've seen some incredible performances, some comebacks, like all different types of things in just the first 2 days. So excited for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it should be fun. Once again, we're starting the bar off pretty high. I do want to point out that for the games, once again, Denver kind of had the game in the bag and then fumbled it down the stretch. Joker missed a floater at the end of regulation, which could have won the game. They gave up a Curry. I don't want to say it was wide open because it was deep, but still – they gave Curry some airspace, but you got basically a godly game from Aaron Gordon, and you lost the game anyway. Cam Johnson was horrible in his first game with Denver. We'll see how he responds, but Golden State looks pretty good so far in the season, so we'll see if that continues moving forward. But either way, though, not going to read too much into the results in terms of changing opinions that I have for some of these teams. Golden State should be very good. Denver should be very good as well. And there you go. And as for the other side, Indiana, well, props to them. They're missing a bunch of guys, of course, with no Turner, who is on a different team now. You have no Halliburton, no McConnell, and they almost won the game. So props to them. Oklahoma City was missing a bunch of guys as well. Shout out to Aaron Wiggins. Cashed my lock. I had his over 1.5 threes, which closed at like minus 190. I got minus 122. He ended up having 5. I'm salty, though, because my dog was plus 335. Joker triple-double with Denver to win the game. No comment, which did not end well, but Joker got the triple-double. So I don't want to say I got robbed of a sweep, but either way, it was definitely a very, I'd say, worthy sweat for the odds because we didn't get there at the end, but we had everything besides the win. Anyway, I see people asking you if you're wearing those X-ray glasses for poker in the Chauncey Billups game. Any care to comment on that?
I wish they were. I don't know how to play poker, so even if they were, it wouldn't do me any good.
I do, so you let me borrow the glasses sometime. Yeah. We'll go from there. But yeah, that was definitely the, I'd say, main storyline going on yesterday. We talked about it in the morning with Terrell. We have a bit more information now. But yeah, once again, Chauncey Billups involved in some massive FBI scandal where he was rigging poker games. Rozier was involved in a separate incident involving sports betting, which is tied back to the original incident, which the NBA basically cleared him of any wrongdoing. And now it turns out there was definitely wrongdoing and he's involved. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but nothing else really add there. I know you were not on the show. You have any comments about what's going on for either scandal?
Yeah, not really. I don't even care enough to read up on it. I'm not knowledgeable enough to have an opinion, so none at all.
Yeah, the only thing that I thought was interesting was the separate scandal involving Damon Jones, because he was an employee of the Lakers, an unpaid intern. I didn't know the NBA had those, but apparently he was not getting paid for his time in LA. And he was relaying LeBron injury news to bettors, and they ended up making money. And I guess the one thing that kind of confuses me with, I know that he, of course, was a Laker employee, so that's kind of a conflict of interest, and I get that's why it's a problem. We've noticed middle of the afternoon line moves all the time when it comes to games, and then a random guy gets ruled out, and that's why the line ended up moving in the afternoon. You've noticed this too. I wouldn't say Damon Jones is the only guy that's been supplying others with injury news and that causes massive line shifts at 2:00 in the afternoon. Just throwing it out there that Damon Jones might not be the only guy associated with leaking injury news to bettors, because Terrell and I mentioned this, especially in the end of the regular season when a lot of teams aren't actually trying and we see a lot of guys sitting. There's a bunch of line movement at random points in the afternoon after we record, which is why it's kind of annoying. But I'm sure you've noticed it too. We've seen a bunch of line moves over the years with random teams who drop down 3 points and then randomly a star player's ruled out. So
a lot of them have been incorrect though. Like the move maybe, is, the right move, but as far as the result, it doesn't really result in, winning bets. But information has been around. This is not like news. Information has been around. Like getting out information is not new. It's people who give everybody information from every sport.
It wasn't a great look for Damon Jones when he specifically said to the guy via text message, "Bet enough so I can get paid too." Probably so that was definitely self-incriminating because they ended up confiscating the phones. They got the records and all that. Jones was an employee of the team, and he said, "Bet this for me." Just throwing it out there with the line moves we see in the middle of the afternoon, especially later on in the year, I'm sure there are other people involved in relaying early information, pre-public information to bettors to move lines.
Okay.
Do we agree on that?
Yeah, I agree. It's going to keep happening. It's never going to be able to stop. It's not just players. It's all different types of people. You know how many people work for these organizations? They know.
Yeah, a ton.
Like it's not. It could be the scorekeeper, anybody. Like it could be anybody, and they don't
really could.
They just say, hey, this person. I heard this person is going to be out, and then somebody who does bet is like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to bet this.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm sure they get compensated on the side. But wanted to mention that Damon Jones, I'm sure, is not the only NBA employee leaking betting information based on the line moves we received at random points in the afternoon. So keep an eye out for that. People are wondering how to solve this problem. Truth is, the problem is just a couple of really dumb players who don't know how to spend their money. I would say that it's a couple of bad apples trying to ruin it for everybody. I've seen suggestions of removing unders on player props, only listing star players, and I'm just like, you're clearly out of touch on what the main resolution is for this issue. You have to actually have some legal reform. You have to punish these players harder than they can possibly imagine. I don't want to say electric chair.
It still won't work. It still won't work.
I think you can make an argument, though, that if you wanted to prevent it from happening, you have to go out of your way to disincentivize the players to actually do it, because you make an argument whether it's star players or not. There's still going to be leaked information. There's still going to be some other stuff going on underground. Yes, I understand that Jonte Porter was not a well-known NBA player making a ton of money, and yet he tried to get himself a quick payday. Rozier made a ton of money, and he still did it. So I think it's more of a players don't know how to handle their finances type of problem, as opposed to, well, sports betting's bad. I feel like that's a very, very hasty generalization, as opposed to NBA players are just being dumb.
Yeah.
Is that a fair summary of that?
Yeah, about right. But it's no way to stop it. It's just like any other crime. It's nothing you can do. It's gonna happen.
And if you remove, in theory, unders for player props, that just makes the overall experience worse. So you sabotage overall sports betting just because you're paranoid about one or two guys throwing games.
Yeah.
For college, that might be a bigger deal if you want to remove college player props. But for NBA players, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, it's just no way to really solve it. A lot of this, a lot of this stuff is, it's not like groundbreaking or anything. Like, it's been going on, and it's probably going to continue to go on. It's just that sports betting being regulated has caught these guys. Like, it's helped catch these guys. So, some people are saying that, sports betting is bad or whatever the case may be, but it's got its perks. It's helped do things and help catch things that they would have normally not caught being on the underground. So, it's just a pick your poison. Talk to different people and they have different opinions. So, yeah, that doesn't really do anything.
I feel like that's the other part that's not being mentioned enough during the scandal. Last point, we got 12 games to get into. The fact is, all of these scandals that happened, the guy's gotten caught. whether it involve college, whether it involve the NBA with Jonte, with Terry Rozier. We've seen a bunch of investigations, and the FBI got involved, and now you have people probably going to jail. So I feel like the regulation of the sports books actually, in a way, I know it involves access. The whole point is you get easier access to bet on this stuff. But now you have exchanges. You have even Underdog Fantasy. I know that you have to use multiple portions for an entry, but the point is there are other ways, even like Kalshi, and if you want to use like Novig, etc., you can still bet on stuff even if sportsbooks don't allow you to. So sportsbooks not allowing certain things doesn't actually accomplish as much as you might think. You can reduce limits on certain wagers, which I can understand maybe being a potential solution, or an, I'd say, argued solution. But the idea of removing unders and stuff for all player props, do you know how much money sportsbooks would make if you made everything overs only? You'd make sportsbooks or sports betting basically impossible for the public, and that wouldn't actually accomplish anything. So, for record, if they end up removing any unders for players, I will officially remove all my money from that book. They will get none of my business. That is a waste of time. So, no, that is not an answer. But either way, that's my last point. The regulation has gotten these players caught. So keep that in mind. And the FBI did a better job than the NBA when it comes to investigating the actual situation. Anyway, before we get into any of the games for the card on Friday, a reminder that you can also check out this podcast Monday through Friday. And when you do, check it out on either YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget to leave a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple. But once again, bunch of podcasts. We cover every game on the NBA slate Monday through Friday. We even throw in some weekend episodes during the playoffs and during the end of the regular season. But make sure you check it out wherever you do get your podcast. Moving on to the actual games here for Friday. Starting off with the first game on the slate, the Bucks taking on the Raptors. Damn, the Raptors killed the Hawks in game one. Raptors laying 1.5 at home. The over-under's at 234.5. Injury report, Kevin Porter Jr. ended up rolling his ankle, and he is out for this game. I believe, it was an ankle sprain, so he's going to be out for a while. As for Giannis, he's probable. Means nothing. He had 30-plus points in game one. It was a waste of time. So Giannis looked fine, and Milwaukee looked good against the bad Wizards team. Now, Toronto has a lot of weapons. Quickly was awful in game one, but Barrett was very good. Ingram was good. Felt like they cooked, and they scored basically 140 points. So I'll ask you for this game. For starters, one side has Giannis. Other side has a lot of depth for scoring, and they're at home. Do you think Toronto should be favored in this game against Giannis, or do you think it's an overreaction to them beating the Hawks?
Yeah, a little bit of overreaction to me. I love the Bucks in the spot, but again, we're taking in. It's not enough data to like where you can compare and contrast like styles of play or things like that. So basically, everything is on priors and just strictly power rating. And I don't think these teams are power rated in the same light. I mean, if you just look at their win total, it's pretty much. I think the Bucks are 3 or 4 wins ahead of what Toronto is, and Toronto's more in that play-in spot. So if you look at it from that perspective, I don't think that this should be. I think the Bucks should be favored by 1.5, 2. So I like the Bucks here. I mean, I think they have a really good advantage on the interior. Toronto's had trouble defending the interior all last year. Pretty much the same team this year. I know they added Brandon Ingram, but interior presence is just pretty much Jakob Poeltl. And I think Giannis will be able to have a free way to the rim. I like Miles Turner being able to space the floor and add some type of structure and outside shooting that Brook Lopez kind of added, but he was on this down. He was on, trending downward. So Miles Turner, more versatile in that spot. I think it opens up a ton for Giannis. The Kevin Porter Jr. thing is a little bit concerning because they're already kind of short on guards, but you move Gary Trent in there. I think Cole Anthony will be able to play a little bit more as well. He's got some experience there. So I like the depth of the Bucks. I think Portis will play better as well. He had a horrible game in game.
He was really bad.
Yeah, so I like the Raptors. Don't get me wrong; it's a team that I do want to bet on, but I also like the Bucks, and I think this spot and number wise would only have me going with the Bucks in the spot.
Yeah, I think I agree. Well, Toronto, I watched a lot of that game actually. I had quickly assists. He was really bad, but the assist got there, so I appreciate it. But Toronto, look, at the end of the day, they got a bunch of scoring, a bunch of options, but just a reminder: Atlanta is absolute garbage defensively, and that has not changed. That's been a Quinn Snyder staple with this Atlanta team. Watching them play, It was ugly. A bunch of wide open guys, free runs to the basket. The rotations were horrible defensively. I do think even though Toronto played very well, Atlanta defensively is still a team that I just don't want anything to do with. And that might have been why in hindsight, might have overrated Atlanta. It's only one game. Not going to react too strongly to it. But the defense was a problem last year. Daniels had 5 fouls in the third quarter, so he barely played in the game, and he's the only guy trying to defend anybody on that team. So Toronto, I think, is a pretty good sell-high spot here. Milwaukee, at the end of the day, has good spacing. Giannis is going to be able to get to the rim. Who's the rim protection here? Jakob Poeltl? Like, you have problems. Poeltl, I like as an overall player. He is not a rim protector at all. So I think Giannis might get some free runs to the rim. Porter should play better. I just think it's a good spot for Milwaukee. I get the argument is it could be a Toronto home spot where they show up and they potentially beat a Bucks team because they have more depth. And Kevin Porter Jr., who I'm not that high on, is still a pretty good bench piece for this Milwaukee team. I get it, but Giannis could walk into 40, and I would not be surprised at all because Toronto's back line is very, very underwhelming. And Giannis might just do what he did against Washington, which is run down court, one-man fast break, have fun, and he gets to the line 15 times. Like, that could happen too. So I'll go Milwaukee. I think Portis and Giannis should play very well in this game. Barnes, I know, got banged up last game. He finished the game, but I know he was grabbing at his arm at one point. So I'll see if he's a late addition to the injury report or not. I'll go with Milwaukee, though. I think Toronto is looking so far so good, but Atlanta's defense is definitely a serious problem. And I do think Toronto's offense might be overrated now because of facing off against a really bad defensive team. So I'll go with the Bucks for this one with you. I like the over in the game. I mean, Toronto pace-wise was up there. Maybe Atlanta caused that, but I see points. I mean, Milwaukee's defense against the Wizards was inconsistent, is the word I'll use. I can see points here. I'll go with the over. Any thoughts on the total for this one?
Yeah, I like the over as well. The Bucks did a really good job defensively early on. I think they put them in a little bit of a zone look, and that kind of hurt.
Third quarter, they kind of fell apart, but yeah.
Yeah. Then Washington kind of got it going in the second half, and they were using it because the Bucks aren't really athletic at all, and the Wizards are extremely young and athletic, so they kind of just wanted to get up and run. I mean, the Bucks were reluctant to run as well, but I think the defense will struggle a little bit with the athleticism that the Raptors have because their wings and their backcourt are, a little bit more athletic and able to score the ball. So I think we see some pace here. So I like the over as well.
Yeah, for the record, I think my favorite play in this game, not too creative, is Giannis points. Just simply put, Giannis points were 31.5. No reason for me to avoid taking it. He had 35 in the last meeting last season. Looking at some other potential lines here. I think 30.5 at -120 on BetMGM's worth something. If Milwaukee's going to win, Giannis probably has a monster game because who else is supposed to score on this team besides a couple of random hot three-point shooters? So give me Giannis to have 35-plus points probably in this game. Moving on to the next game, looking at the Hawks taking on the Magic. Two very fun opening games if you like overs because Atlanta didn't guard anybody. They gave up about 140. And Trae Young was foul baiting down 28 points in the fourth quarter, which I did watch. You also had Orlando, who had a very fun game against Miami. Nobody guarded anybody for the first about hour and a half, but Orlando got the job done. Wendell Carter Jr., nice job down the stretch. Couple big rebounds, and he kind of iced the game. Bane looked very good, and we know Orlando looks like they can score again. So Suggs was rumored to maybe miss the start of the season. He played. Nice to see him back there. Orlando's now laying 4.5. The over-under is at 235.5. A reminder, a rematch of the first play-in game from last year, where Orlando ended up blowing them out. For the injury report, Risacher rolled an ankle in the first game, and we'll see if he ends up playing in this one. And Mo Wagner is the only guy listed out for Orlando, which was expected. I like Orlando in this game. I think Orlando's a better team. Atlanta, look, I was higher on this team than last year, obviously. In hindsight, I might have been a little bit too high on a team that still can't defend. Orlando was really bad defensively against Miami early. They kind of buckled down late. Some really good shooting performances, though, from Miami. I think Davion Mitchell had like 16 and 12. Wiggins had a couple big threes. Powell was fantastic. Miami's got some talent. I think Atlanta defensively is just a mess, and nothing from the first game suggests they figured out anything defensively. I expect a better effort from Orlando defensively in this game. Physicality-wise, they can frustrate Trae and I think that can be a problem, throwing Suggs on him, different looks, keeping him off balanced. I'll go with Orlando -4.5.
Yeah, I like the Hawks in this spot. I didn't like, it was a hard bet to make. I know Terrell went with the Raptors, but I mean, I want the Hawks in this role where they're a dog of this amount. They played horrible. They didn't protect the rim. I think the Raptors had 86 points in the paint, which is horrible.
Oh, it looked like it. I'll tell you that much. It looked like it.
Yeah, there's a freeway to the basket. But so I think they're going to have to implement a Kongu a little bit more, and he's going to have to play a little bit more of that rim protector, along with KP as well. So I think they'll adjust a little bit. I like Jalen Johnson being back healthy. I think both teams kind of showed their inconsistencies and not being able to play with each other as much. So now, the Magic, they turned it on in the second half, but like you said, I was worried about that defense. The one thing that I thought we didn't have to worry about was their defense, but they were bad defensively. I think the Hawks would be a little bit better defensively. I would make it like a one-possession game, so I can see the Magic squeaking by about 2 or 3. So it's not a strong bet, but something I would bet. I would take Atlanta plus the points.
Yeah, so I came away with a bit of a different conclusion there because I was concerned about Orlando offensively going into the season, and they won a game where they couldn't defend. So I actually was kind of optimistic because I think the defense will get better as time goes on, but at least they proved they can win a shootout if they end up in one of them, which I was kind of a fan of. But one prop I'm kind of interested in quickly, Trae Young under on his assists are at 9.5 at -120. He ended up only having 5 assists in the last game. But against Orlando, he's actually been horrible at assisting the ball. He's had less than 10 assists in 4 of the last 6 against Orlando, I mean. So I don't mind Trae under assists. I know that Davion in a monster game, maybe you can wait and see if they figure it out. But historically speaking, Trae has not been great at passing the ball against this team. And Orlando kind of forces Trae into a shoot-first role. So we'll see if that continues. But I like Orlando personally for this game. Moving on to the next one. You have the Cavs taking on the Nets. I might go to this game, actually, because tickets are like $20, so maybe I'll consider it. Cavs are laying 11.5 against the Nets, who stink. The over-under's at 230.5. Cavs lost to the Knicks. They were getting blown out, came back, they got blown out again, and then they're losing at MSG. For the injury report, the Nets have a healthy-ish roster. No Wolf, no Powell, who, of course, they drafted out of UNC, and no Highsmith. For the Cavs, Garland's still out, Stru's still out, Hunter's a questionable tag. We'll end up seeing if he plays or not. Now, the Nets gave up a ton of points to Charlotte. They got buried, and that was pretty ugly early on. For the Cavs, they played the Knicks, who might be the best team in the East. Cavs should be pissed off after losing to the Knicks. Having said that, they really don't have much of a bench. I mean, Lonzo was 0 of 7, I believe, from 3, and he still had 6 assists, so he contributed in other ways, but the shooting wasn't there. I'll ask you, though, because I think awful loss Cleveland kills this team. But any case for the Nets at home, or do you think the Cavs win this by 20+?
Yeah, I do think that, but I don't want to bet it. I would look at the Cavs first quarter, first half. I mean, no travel, obviously, with playing in MSG a few nights ago, so that's negated. They have time to kind of reset. They did show some fight during that stretch where they came back and cut the lead, but the Knicks are notorious for giving up leads. So they don't play well with leads, regardless of coach. The injuries are concerning for the Cavs, especially early on. So it's going to take them a little bit more time to build that continuity. They're relying a lot more on the young guys, Sam Merrill, Jalen Tyson. You mentioned Lonzo. I think he'll play better as well. But I'm looking at the Cavs early on. The Nets, I mean, they didn't show me much. I mean, I bet Charlotte pretty heavy in game 1, and they didn't show a ton, especially on defense. So the Cavs should be able to do what they want offensively. And the reason why I don't want to lay that bigger a number is because I'm worried that they'll get ahead by, 20, 25. And then due to them not having such a strong bench right now, they'll be able to rest those guys, those starters, a little bit more and play the bench. And that could, kind of get ugly with the Nets coming in the back door. So I like Cavs early and often. So first quarter, first half for me.
Yeah, I'm interested in that too. I'm a bit annoyed because FanDuel had a prop last year, which was team to score 100+ in the first 3 quarters, which I wanted for this game for Cleveland, but I don't think it exists anymore, so I can't take it. But I think Cleveland jumps on them early and often, and I think they are pissed off after losing to the Knicks. A reminder, by the way, Mitchell is a New York guy, so if you want to go for the hometown angle or home state angle, Mitchell might go crazy in this game. Moving on to the next game, you have the Celtics taking on the Knicks. Celtics lost a heartbreaker because Edgecombe and Maxey combined for about 75 points. For the Knicks, nice win against the Cavs in the opener. Knicks are laying 3.5. The over-under's at 229.5. Now, for Boston, no Garza, of course. Tatum's out for the season. For the Knicks, you had no Hart in the first game, and Hart might come back for this game. Talent is questionable. He played through the injury in the first game, was limited, but you know what? He looked okay based on the injury. Mitchell Robinson's still out, and Anunoby is problem. So the Knicks without Josh Hart look pretty good. So I do think that I'm going to go with the Knicks in this one. The Celtics, I thought, would finish the season under 500. Yes, they have some shooting talent. They have no front court at all. I mean, their front court's a mess with Kate at the starting center spot. But the Knicks are a good team. And we saw the Knicks bury the Celtics not really bury, but they won the series because the Celtics choked away a couple games early and the Knicks routed them at MSG in the closeout game. I get you could argue the revenge angle, but no Tatum. I don't really care, to be honest. I got the Knicks. They're the better team, and they're only laying 3.5. Line feels very short, trappy short, but 3.5 feels wrong. Give me the Knicks minus 3.5.
Yeah, I like the opposite side. I like the Celtics. The Knicks, I believe Mike Brown with playing, more than 6 guys, because I think he played like 9 guys. Miles McBride scored. Yeah, Miles McBride scored a couple, 15 points, I think. 4 other reserves played, 12, 13 minutes. So I like how he's keeping those guys a little bit fresher down the stretch. But I think the Celtics, they're a team that I think are going to be valued in this type of role. I mean, Peyton Pritchard missed a game-winning shot that he probably
he had 2 looks at it, actually.
Yeah, and I think he got blocked on one, and then he got the inbound again, which it was odd that I thought they would go to Jaylen Brown for whatever reason.
Yeah, of course you did. Everyone did. Pass the damn ball.
Yeah, they went away from him, and he was like Pritchard was like pounding. Like I'm like, what are you doing? Get the ball to Jaylen Brown. But they were right there. You know what I'm saying? I think they were right there. They just got unlucky. So I like Peyton Pritchard and company to bounce back here. I think Derek White will have a big game. Jaylen Brown always plays well in the Garden. So I'm going to take the 3.5. I think it'll be a competitive game. I'm not sure about Cat. I think that the day off in between maybe helps a little bit, but I don't really think that it matters either way. I like the Celtics to kind of compete and win this game on the floor.
I think they might compete too, but Brunson was really not that good in game 1, and I think he can look better in game 2 here. But I don't know. Boston's going to be a frisky team that can maybe sneak up on you and win some games, but I don't see the revenge spot here. I think the Knicks come out here and win personally. So I'll go with the Knicks minus the 3.5. Before we get into the rest of the card, a reminder they're brought to you by our sponsor, MoGetAG. Using to bet on football, basketball, NHL, a bunch of different sports. Check out their platform. You can also use crypto for funding and for getting payouts with your account. And when you use the actual link, MyBookAG, you can use the code SGPN for 100% bet back bonus $500 from your customers when you sign up for your new account. MyBookAG promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Novig, which is the number one prediction market for sports in America. You're getting some great prices, reduced juice on different bets. You can also check it out in a bunch of states. 35 plus states it's available in, so check it out. Download the Novig app. Get $50 and spend just $5 if you use the promo code SGPN. Get it on the actual Novig. Promo code SGPN. Spend $5, $50 in bonus funds. Welcome back, everyone, to the NBA Game Podcast. Finished going through the first couple games for the card on Friday. Time to keep it moving with the Pistons taking on the Rockets. So Rockets played opening night, lost in double overtime in a game they probably should have won. Detroit, though, was down a ton to Chicago, came back, and then ended up falling short as they ended up losing to Chicago. Chet Vucevic had a very solid first game. Either way, though, Rockets are laying 6.5. Detroit is hoping to bounce back, but it's a pretty tough spot. And for the over-under, I see 227.5. Now, Houston's guards are underwhelming. Reed Shepherd was not very good. Amen Thompson looked very sharp. He's not really a true point guard, but he was cramping, and they had to pull him from the game. We know the size, though, is the story of the Houston team with Şengün, with Adams, with Durant, with Capella, a bunch of guys. Eason you could throw in there, too. Houston looked pretty good for a team that just got thrown together against the defending champions, and they probably should have won the game. Detroit no-showed a game against Chicago, which is not a good look. I like the Rockets in this game, but I think Detroit hangs around. I'm not going to say Houston blows them out, but do I think Duren is really ready to handle Adams and company on the boards? Not really. I mean, Vucevic had a double-double in the first half against this team in the opener. I like Houston. I just think physically they can be tough with Cade, force other guys to beat them, and I'm not sure they can. I'm going Houston minus 6.5.
Yeah, I love Houston in the spot. I think just stylistically, like the way that Detroit wants to play is to the advantage of Houston. Detroit doesn't want to run up and down the floor, kind of like what Golden State wanted to do. They want to play in the half court. They want to play high pick and roll. So I do think that benefits Houston. The point guard thing is going to be a concern later on if they don't find one. But right now in this specific spot, I think they'll be fine. They got the defenders to throw at Cade. I'm interested to see Amin and Asar match up against each other. I think that's really intriguing. But I think the physicality of Sengun, of Adams, of Capella, I think that physicality in the paint will be the ultimate winning formula for Houston. They knock down enough shots. They got to get a little bit better production from the bench unit. I think the bench unit is one of the pieces that are going to be like a wild card for them. So they have to play well. The outside shooting has to be better. I know Reed was okay, but I mean he's got to be better, especially on a defensive end. That's probably why he wasn't playing as much. So I do think that the Houston is the right side. I think they win by margin here just because of the style of play. I mean, Detroit is not going to run up and down the floor, and I think that's how you typically beat Houston. You want to get them out and runs in transition. So Houston, I like the under as well.
Yeah, I like the under too. I think Houston is going to be a very good under team for their games because of the lack of pace, their physicality, and they still have some spacing questions with this team. So I like the under. I think defensively they can really frustrate Detroit. Detroit no-showed the entire first 2.5 quarters against Chicago. Not a great look. I'll go with Houston at home in their home opener. Moving on to the next game. You have the Heat taking on the Grizzlies. Now, it was opening night for a lot of teams, and I actually watched the end of that Heat game. Missed most of it, to be honest. But I caught a lot of the Grizzlies game because I had Ja over his points. So I actually was watching that. Memphis still laying 2.5 at home, and the over-under is at 233.5. Now, the Grizzlies were getting buried by the Pelicans early in that game. Classic Pelicans choked away the entire game, and the Grizzlies went on, I want to say it was a 19-0 run in that second half, third quarter, fourth quarter, so they kind of turned the game on its head. Miami was winning for a decent portion of that Orlando game, ended up losing, but Orlando's really good, or they're supposed to be, so I'm not going to roast Miami too much for it. For Memphis, though, they don't have much of a front court in terms of depth. They got Jock Landale playing a bunch of minutes, but I'll ask you because I thought Miami looked pretty good for an opening game. Memphis won. Was I impressed? Not really. I mean, Ja was great, but New Orleans has no rim protection at all. Miami does have Bam. They have Ware. They have a couple guys who can't protect the rim. I didn't mind Miami here. I get Memphis at home. It's a good home court environment. That could be why people are high on Memphis, but the guard depth's kind of non-existent. They're using Spencer because you have Jerome, who's out indefinitely now. Scottie Pippen Jr.'s out for a couple months. You're missing Edey. You're missing Clark. Every year is the same story, bunch of injuries. Miami's actually kind of healthy. I know Hero's out, but at least all the other guys are healthy. Miami can score. I know that Rozier, of course, might not ever play again, but we know he was throwing games anyway. I mean, the starting lineup of Mitchell, Powell, Wiggins, Jovic, and Adebayo with Ware off the bench, really not that bad. Ja's questionable for this game. Caldwell Pope's questionable for this game. Ja being questionable, by the way, after one game is very on brand for Ja. Give me Miami money line. I think they're live, and if Memphis ends up sitting Ja, they have no guard depth at all. So I'll go for Miami in this game.
Yeah, I'm going with Memphis strictly on the home court advantage. I think they have one of the better home courts in the NBA. I think the record would show that as well. Yeah. I do think that so the Grizzlies are pretty easy to solve. I mean, when Jaren and Ja are on the floor, they're really, really good, regardless of the three other guys that are on the court. They win the majority of the games that both of those guys play on the court together. I mean, it's just a well-known fact, numbers-wise, and they just look a lot better. I think early on in the game, they kind of got punched in the mouth, and they were trying to play so many guys that it was kind of confusing. They couldn't get into a good flow. Mm-hmm. So in the third quarter, when they went on that run, they settled Isolo settled everything down, and he started playing like a rotation of 6 or 7 guys, and that kind of got them into a rhythm. You started seeing Ja get downhill. Jaren was battling foul trouble, which kind of honestly, it kind of benefited them a little bit more in that matchup simply because they could spread out a little bit more. I know Jaren can, he wants to shoot threes, but whenever they're spread out and they got Ja able to get downhill with a lot of those shooters on the floor, it's a little bit harder to defend. KCP was really good defensively, knocked down a few shots as well. Miami looked good as well. I like Miami. So everything you said about Miami, I completely agree. Obviously, I think it's a coaching mismatch for mostly anybody versus Spo, especially here with the first-year guy. So, I guess a year-and-a-half guy. But I think you talked about the rim protection. So I'm concerned about the rim protection because I think that if you pull Bam away from the basket, because I'm assuming he's going to be guarding Jaren, and Jaren is not going to, be in the paint, I guess he's consistently. So he'll be able to pull Bam away from the basket and high pick and roll. Ja can get downhill. I mean, Khalil Ware, fine, but I think Ja will be good getting downhill.
Well, for the record, I was not saying Miami has a great rim protection. I was saying compared to New Orleans, they actually have size. New Orleans has nobody who can protect the rim because Missy got injured too in the middle of the game.
Yeah, so I think that they'll be able to attack the paint, and that'll lead to wide open threes. So if we can get Jalen Wills on those catch and shoot threes, if we can get Sid Coward, who played extremely well.
I thought he was great. I was going to mention him in a second. He looks very good.
Yeah, he played extremely well on both sides of the ball. Defensively, he rebounded. He was diving on the floor. So he looked really good. Javon Small is going to be a good player, I think. Veteran guy, knows how to win. Kind of hard nose. He fits the Memphis mantra to me.
He's a good player.
The stats won't show it. Say it again.
He's a good player.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, the stats won't show it, but I think he results to winning, and I like him for that team. It'll be interesting to see when those guys get healthy, when those other guys get healthy, how his impact either declines or stays the same. So I like Memphis. It's not a love affair, but I do like Memphis here to get it done at home.
Yeah, for the record, Jaren did have 6 blocks with those 6 fouls. But I want to point out, though, the foul trouble concerns for Memphis because reading off the actual fouls that they allowed or they gave up themselves. So Jaren fouled out, Landell fouled out, and Aldama had 5. So you had 17 fouls basically amongst your front court. Not a great look. I know Miami's more of a finesse team because Bam's more of a finesse big man. I get that. But I do have concerns about foul trouble for Memphis, and Ja might not play. So I'll go for Miami in this one. Might not bet it, but if Ja sat, I wouldn't be totally shocked. So we'll see what happens, but we'll go from there. Moving on to the Spurs taking on the Pelicans. Now for this one, you are looking at the Spurs off of the dominant performance against the Mavericks, where Wemby looked like he was going to break the entire league. So for this game, you have a pretty short line. Spurs are laying 3.5 on the road. We know that the Pelicans have been a lot better at home over the years than on the road. They've not really been good in either. But either way, they're laying about 3.5 for the Pelicans, and the over, you can't get 233.5. Now, for the actual Pelicans front court situation, it is a catastrophe. I mentioned a second ago that Ja had 35 against this team. You are looking at the injury report, and it is not pretty. So for the injuries, starting off with the potential questionable tag, Missy might end up not playing. I think he rolled his ankle. Looney's still out, and we'll go from there. For the Spurs, you still have no Fox, you have no Olynyk, no Sochin, and no Waters, but Wemby's Wemby, and they have arguably Missy guarding him, who might not play. So as of right now, assuming Missy ends up sitting in this game, the projected front court for New Orleans is Zion Williamson, Derek Queen, Hunter Dickinson, and newly acquired DeAndre Jordan. Have fun guarding Wembanyama. I got the Spurs minus 3.5.
To handicap here, the Pelicans up front are a trap. I mean, so Memphis, when they started to get downhill, after they stopped settling for jump shots, like they were able to be effective in that run that you talked about earlier between the third and fourth quarter. So I think that's what we're going to see relentlessly by Spurs, especially with their guards getting downhill. I would look at Dylan Harper to have a really good game because he's a downhill driver and finisher at the rim. He played well. I think a lot of the rookies play well, actually, because my guy Fears, he played extremely well against.
I liked him. He had 17 points. He was good.
Yeah, he can touch the paint really well. So, I mean, I think this is a spot for the Spurs. Most of the time you want to play against a performance like they had, but I think that's real. I think that Spurs performance is real. Obviously not to that caliber, but I think they can put up points in a hurry. And that was against a team with probably one of the deeper front lines and one of the better defensive front lines in the NBA in Dallas with Lively, Gafford, and Davis. So I can only imagine what they're going to do to the Pelicans with Queen Zion. I mean, Zion could be in foul trouble as well. So I'm liking the Spurs here. I like the over as well. I think both teams will be able to score, especially the Spurs.
Yeah, also for New Orleans offensively, I said a second ago, Jaren Jackson at 6 blocks. I mean, we know Zion's not going to jump shoot. He's going to want to go to the basket. Wemby's going to hold his hands up and record 7 blocks. Yeah. So the rim protection will be there for San Antonio, too. They look great in the opener. Yeah. I see Thad asking if I have any belief in DeAndre Jordan. I'll put it this way. He was best friends with Joker. They clearly have a fun relationship, and Denver tossed him aside. Then once they did, no team signed him because nobody wanted him because he's washed completely. And then the Pelicans looked up and said, oh, we got Wemby on the schedule, and they immediately signed DeAndre Jordan. So we'll see if Missy ends up playing or not. Wemby might drop 50 in this game if they give him the ball enough. I don't know who's going to guard this guy. And on top of that, defensively, Wemby's going to be punting shots left and right at the rim. So I like the Spurs here, -3.5. I see 4.5s now. Chop around, though. You can still find some 3.5s. I might mention this again later on in the show, but I think the Spurs are just a really bad matchup for New Orleans in this game. Moving on to the next game, you have the Wizards taking on the Mavericks. Mavericks got curb stomped in the first game against San Antonio. Washington got killed early by Milwaukee. You know what? They made it a single-digit game in the fourth quarter. They didn't roll over. Props to them. Still not a great team, but at least they went down swinging, so to speak, before Giannis once again took over the game. Now, for the injury report, Washington still has no Koulibaly healthy besides him. For Dallas, Gafford's questionable. Exum and Kyrie are out. And for some reason, Cooper Flagg still listed a point guard. So Flagg was really bad in his debut. He had a double-double. So if you only watched or looked at the box score, you might have thought he was okay. He was not. He was terrible. Now, I think he'll play better. I think facing Wemby doesn't help in your debut. The Wizards' front court, though, is not great. Sarr's not a great rim protector. He can block some shots, but he's still kind of skinny. So I think you can see Dallas potentially eat on the inside. Having said that, with Cooper Flagg, who I believe had 0 assists in the entire game, as your starting point guard, I can't like 10.5. I get Jason Kidd wants to put Flagg into some unique, I'd say, lineups, trying to see what he has in the rookie. That's a work in progress. At least Washington proved to me against Milwaukee, if they fall behind early, they will not roll over. At least they will try to maybe backdoor this game. 10.5, though, for a team with questionable spacing and with a team that really looked awful in the opener. I'll go with the Wizards plus 10.5. I think that Dallas might win the game, but that's a massive spread. I don't think Washington's that bad. I don't think they're good, but this is disrespectful. Give me Washington plus 10.5.
Yeah, I think you pretty much laid out my handicap. I think Washington will fight. I think they'll continue to fight. They got a ton of. They have on their roster. They got a ton of young guys who can score it. I like Chris Middleton being there as kind of a veteran presence. I like C.J. McCollum being there as well. But again, I think early on they'll struggle, and I think the Mavericks will come out with their hair on fire after what happened to them early on. The Wizards were outscored 40-23 in the first quarter. So yeah. That's concerning, and I think they're off of it's decent travel from Washington to Dallas, but I think that the Mavs are going to come out and play extremely well. The point guard thing is absurd. Like Flagg didn't play well, but I don't think it was. I don't put a lot of the blame on him. Like Dallas didn't put him in position to be successful at all. He's not a point guard. I mean, he has.
I think this is insane.
Yeah, it is. He has the ability to, play make and do things that a wing is supposed to do, of course, but he's not a point guard. He's not he's facilitating. I don't want Cooper Flagg facilitating. I want him slashing downhill, I want him grabbing a rebound. Of course, he has the ability to grab the rebound and run your offense, but I don't want him walking the ball up, calling plays. That's just not what I would want Cooper Flagg doing. That's not putting him in the best position possible to be successful. So hopefully he plays a little bit more of D'Lo at the 1. They got to find some kind of fluidity at that position. Mm-hmm. So until they do that, I don't buy them long term. But early on in this specific spot, first quarter, first half, I do like Dallas. Full game, I'm with you on the Wizards.
Yeah, I see people mentioning taking the big man against the Wizards. I think AD could have a very solid game. I mean, points-wise, he was okay against Wemby because once they were down 25, he had a couple of three-pointers to pad his numbers. But I think he's in a good spot here. I mean, Washington let Giannis run to the rim freely, and the only thing stopping Giannis early was foul trouble. So I think AD probably walks into 12 28 points, 20,
Yeah, I would look at his,
maybe
yeah, I would look at
30
his PR. I would look at his PR
in this game. So I don't mind that. But once again, Flag being your starting point guard and having 0 assists tells you it's probably not a good idea. Try D'Lo at that spot. As I know I'm not a D'Lo guy, but at least that's his natural position, and he can run pick and rolls. Moving on to the next game on the card, you have the Timberwolves taking on the Lakers. Timberwolves laying 2.5, and we know the over-under here is at 225.5. Now, the Timberwolves had a bit of a sweat there against Portland and dropped 40. He had a great game. The last game, Sean Phillips will ever coach in the NBA. And now you have Thiago Splitter, who's going to be coaching the Trailblazers. I'll mention that next game. But either way, Ant did Ant things. Timberwolves didn't look great, but they were able to get by anyway. The Lakers looked awful, but at least they have an extra day of rest because they played on opening night. So they do have an extra day to recover in theory. Of course, LeBron's still out. They still have Ayton at center, which is not a good sign. No Kleber, and that's kind of it. So, look, at the end of the day, I'm not a big Gobert fan offensively. We know he had the crazy closeout game against the Lakers last season. It's a good matchup for him defensively against Ayton, and Gobert might end up with like 15, 20 rebounds. This game really does scream Gobert just standing in the paint against Ayton and just grabbing every board. And at that point, I think Minnesota's in a good spot. I know you can make the argument Luka might be hunting Gobert. A reminder, Gobert was really good switching on to Luka in the playoffs last year. So that doesn't bother me, actually. But Randall, I think, will play better in this game. Ant, we know, is an absolute demon at this point. The bench for Minnesota is a question mark for me. We got Bones Highland minutes in 2025 off the bench in the opener, which was shocking. I couldn't believe he was still in the league. But I'm going Minnesota here. Yes, the Lakers might bounce back. It's a revenge game from the postseason series last year. We saw Luka drop 40-plus points, and Golden State kind of ran him out. The game got close late, but it really wasn't. Golden State kind of led most of the way. The Lakers aren't very good. And when your front court's not great and you're against Gobert and Randall and Naz Reid, have fun. I got Minnesota minus 2.5.
Yeah, I honestly wanted to fade both of these teams coming into the season. I took both of their unders on the win totals. I'm just not a believer in either side. That being said, I mean, I think the points is what I'll take with the Lakers. The Lakers typically struggle against teams who are more athletic, kind of get up and down. Minnesota plays more in the half court, so I think that's something that they can contend with because JJ will be able to set his defense and play a little bit more zone because the Minnesota Timberwolves don't have a ton of shooting. The Lakers, they were 54.5% from the floor and they allowed 48.7 to the Warriors. But they shot 25% from three. They didn't get more than 10 points from any other person on the team outside of Luka and Reeves. So they got to get some more bench production. Luckily for them, Minnesota doesn't have a deep bench. So I think they'll hang and be able to contend. Do I love it? No, but I mean, I just don't think Minnesota has the ability to kind of separate on the road as of yet with this current roster against the Lakers team. It's going to be pretty physical with them, I think, at the point of attack. So I'm going to take the Lakers. Don't love it. I wish I could fade both teams, but I think it should be probably around a pick.
Yeah, a reminder that I was actually on the under for the Timberwolves win totals. Actually on both teams under on their win totals. But look, Minnesota's a team, I think matchup-wise is a problem front court-wise for this team. Ayton, we know effort-wise can be very up and down, mostly down. But you're just looking at the options that Minnesota has. Gobert's a very good rebounder. I think you're looking at a game where I don't want to compare it to Houston versus Detroit, but you can argue that if Minnesota ends up ending this game with a plus 12 rebounding differential, would you be shocked? Probably no. I think that's kind of expected for some people. So,
no.
I mean, I believe in the opener, Luka was the only guy to have 7+ rebounds on the entire team in the opener.
Yeah,
so I think Minnesota is just going to get enough second chance points to get to the line enough to cover this number. So I'll go with Minnesota in this game minus the 2.5. Don't mind the under, though. I think the Lakers have to play slow. Minnesota offensively wasn't great in the opener. They just ended up having a crazy first half because Portland was playing very fast. But I do think you're going to see a slower pace game. I like the under in this game as well. Moving on to the next game, the Warriors taking on the Trailblazers. First back-to-back of the season for any team. The Warriors are laying 1.5. Trailblazers with a new coach. Thiago Splitter is the new coach. I believe he was the Nets assistant for a couple of years. The over-under's at 227.5. Now, the real story for this game, besides Billups not being there on the sideline anymore, is who's actually playing for Golden State. They have an older roster. They went to overtime against Denver. Now they're traveling to Portland. Not that far of a travel, but still, they were in Golden State last night. Curry, Butler, Draymond are all listed active right now. We'll see if that's actually true or not. We'll go from there. But we'll see if any of them actually play on the back-to-back. Portland was actually leading against Minnesota for a decent portion. Fell apart down the stretch. Couple of really bad shot selections by Drew Holiday. I didn't do them any favors. But Portland at home, new coach. What are your thoughts? Because it is a very good schedule spot for Portland. And I think most people would want to take Golden State because they just beat Denver. They beat the Lakers. Steph had 40. I think somebody's sitting in this game. So I'll go Portland at home. I think they can win this game outright.
Yeah, I like Portland as well. They should have won their first game against Minnesota that we just talked about, but they kind of choked that away. Splitter, the first Brazilian head coach in the NBA, so that's pretty noting.
Nice.
I didn't even know he was like on staff here. So I know you talked about him being on the Nets staff. I didn't know he was on staff here, but just another branch from the Greg Popovich tree. I do like Portland here. I mean, I liked them all year. Warriors are back-to-back, like I'm not back-to-back games, but just like high intensity type of games, and I think that Portland matches up well with them, whether everybody plays or not. They're physical. They play defense. They got athletic wings. Drew Holiday at the point of attack defender, who's been playing really well actually, and kind of getting those guys in certain positions that I didn't think that they would be able to get in. I mean, I saw Shaedon Sharp, make an extra pass, and I don't think he's made an extra pass since like high school. So I do like Portland. I think the number is telling. I wouldn't be surprised if Portland closes a favor here. So I'm going to take Portland. Love the under in the spot. I like the defense of Portland. Sneaky spot for the Warriors. The Warriors are typically an under team. I know they like to play fast, but they play really good defensively. So under for me in Portland.
Yeah, the only thing that concerns about the under, though, is that Portland played at a much faster pace than I expected against Minnesota, which resulted in a crazy first quarter that had like 77 points. Because both teams were running up and down the court. So we'll see if Portland potentially runs this team out of the building. It's a good idea. You have an older opponent on a back-to-back off an overtime game. You might want to just try to run them out of the building. But you have rim protection with Klingon. I think you can definitely showcase a decent amount of looks, I'd say depth-wise, with this team. And I do want to point out, by the way, just to kind of correct myself, so Splitter was an assistant on the Nets from 19 to 23. He was with the Rockets 23-24. He was actually overseas. He was with Paris basketball last season. So he was an NBA assistant. Then he went overseas, and now he's back. So he was on the Nets, but it was not last year. It was a couple years ago. Anyway, I'm moving on to the next game on the card. Oh, God. Early tank bowl. You have the Jazz, who buried the Clippers. First road game of the season, though. Taking on the Kings, who led by a ton, punted it all away, and lost to the Suns in the opener. Kings laying 5.5. Over-unders at 233.5 for the injury report. So Sabonis is questionable. He missed the opener. We'll see if he plays in this game. Clifford's out, and Keegan Murray is out. For Utah, no Collier, no Niang. For this game, you know what? Honestly, I was going to take whoever was getting points. Give me Utah. I get this team at home is okay, and on the road they're usually terrible. I think the Kings stink. Like, I understand Sabonis might play in this game, and he sat the opener, but I think Utah could be feisty. The Kings, I think, are a bad team. At least Utah has Kessler. They have some guys that can actually score. They have not officially started benching Lauri Markkanen, which they will do for the last 3 months of the season. But he's playing right now. Filipowski can rebound. I actually don't mind the front court that Utah has. They look good in the opener. They killed the Clippers. Not going to overreact too much to one game. It's more of I don't trust the Kings against anybody. Why would I lay 5.5? Give me Utah in this game on the road. The Kings maybe bounce back at home with Sabonis playing, but I don't like this roster either. So give me the dog in what could be a close game. Give me Utah plus the 5.5.
Yeah, I think it'll be a competitive game. So I want to make sure. Is Sabonis playing? No?
It's questionable. We don't know.
Okay, yeah. If Sabonis plays, I like the Kings. If he doesn't, then I like the Jazz.
But I will point out, though, it is a hamstring issue, which can always be tricky to deal with, so we'll see how he feels. But
Yeah, I'll just handicap this as if he's not going to play. So I'll take the Jazz. I mean, I took the Jazz on the show, on the Tuesday show or whatever show it was, that we did. I took the Jazz there. I thought they were live to win the game outright. I didn't expect that type of performance, but they're better than what the market thinks. I truly believe that they have embraced the young core. The tanking obviously does not work, as they've been privy to that for the last 2 years or 2 or 3 years. I think Will Hardy's gonna actually be able to, show off what everybody perceives him to be, like as a decent coach. So I like the Jazz to get things done on the spread. I wouldn't be surprised if they win the game outright. The Kings, they probably deserved a little bit better in that game. They led for like 90% of that game and kind of just let go of the rope at the end. I love some of the pieces that they have. I just don't love how they fit together. So that's an issue. I think once they move on from, you remember what Chicago did when they moved on from Levine and DeRozan? I think that's what's going to happen whenever the Kings move on from Levine and DeRozan, ironically enough, and they let those young guys kind of get in and play a little bit more. So for this spot, Jazz, if as long as Sabonis doesn't play, but if Sabonis does play, then I'll be on the Kings.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's ironic because the Kings saw the Bulls fail with both guys and acquired both guys. And they're wondering why their team's not very good. So I find that fascinating. But I am going to point out, though, to make it kind of worse for Kings fans, the Suns came back and won the game despite Dillon Brooks going 9 of 24 from the field. Dillon Brooks took 24 shots against you and you lost? Come on, man. 1 of 8 from 3? Come on. You can't lose a game to Dillon Brooks like that. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But, yeah, for value, give me the Jazz. They're better than people think. The Kings, I think, are bad. Just simply put. So I'll go with the Jazz. Also worth mentioning, Ace Bailey was not very good in his debut with an illness. I'm hoping he's healthier now, so we'll see how he's feeling, but he might have a good game. We'll see. But I'm mentioning Ace Bailey because he was not very noticeable in his debut, but he was battling sickness. So we'll see if he's healthier now. That could be a nice scoring piece off the bench for Utah. Moving on to the final game. We have the Suns, coincidentally enough, taking on the Clippers. Clippers, damn, man, they were down like 37. It was really bad against the Jazz. They're laying 9.5 at home in this game. The over-under is at 223.5. For the injury report here, Clippers are basically fully healthy, and Jalen Green is still out for the Suns. Suns won the opener, even though they looked very unimpressive in a decent portion of that game. If you want to go for the close your eyes special and cross over the Kramer philosophy in the NFL to the NBA, you're betting Clippers in game 2 because they got curb stomped by one of the worst projected teams in the league, and now they're back at home with a great home environment in their home opener. You could argue this is a great get-right spot for the Clippers, or you can argue the Clippers are maybe a team that people overrated on paper, and unfortunately for them, games are not played on paper. I'll ask you, what do you like in this game? Do you think the Clippers bounce back, or do you think the Suns hang in there?
Yeah, I love the Clippers in the spot for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned. The Suns did not deserve to win in this spot. In that spot, I thought the Kings were the better team for 90% of the game. The Clippers got what they deserved. They came out probably thinking they could sleepwalk through it, and the Jazz smacked them in the mouth, and that lead kind of was insurmountable. So I think the Clippers back at home, they have one of the best home court advantages in the NBA as well in that dome. I think last year with how they played there, a lot of unders in that spot. I don't trust the Suns at all. I mean, you talked about Dillon Brooks getting 24 shots. Yeah, shoot up. I would invite him to just keep shooting if I was the Clippers. I don't think the Suns. I would be surprised if the Suns scored over 105 points. I'm looking at the Suns team total under. I love the Clippers in the spot. I think they win. I think they win by 15, 16 points.
Yeah, so I'm going to disagree a little bit with what the last point you mentioned was. I don't know how good this Clippers defense is. And it seems to be mentioning by Luis, who I will point out is a biased Suns fan, for the record. But he is pointing out that you have Beal and Harden, even Kawhi at the stage in his career, in the lineup. The defense wasn't great. And I understand they got buried, but Utah offensively got whatever they wanted the entire game. I think Kessler did not miss a shot in the entire game. The Suns offensively scored 120, even though Brooks took 24 shots and bricked most of them. I like the over in this game. I mean, you mentioned the Clippers might bury this team. That's fine. They can get to 120, and it's a realistic number for the Clippers in this game. I mean, the Suns might get to 105. They might get to 110. I'll see how this Clippers defense ends up looking. But the Clippers' offense was the real story for me in the first game in terms of just how off they looked entirely. The defense could be a problem for this team. We'll see. I like the over. I'm going to ignore the side. I think 9.5, you can argue, is a good bounce back spot for the Clippers at home. I'll go for a different angle, though. The Clippers' defense was concerning in that opening game. The Suns' defense wasn't great. Levine at 30 points, they were able to get by anyway at the end. But I do think the Clippers, whether they win or lose, can give up points while also scoring a ton. This Suns' defense might not be great. I know they got Malawak in the draft, who can be a rim protector, who did not play in the entire opening game. I'm not a Malawak guy. I think he's a sit-and-wait project, and they'll go from there. But the point is, I question the rim protection for Phoenix. I question the defense for both teams right now. I like the over at 223.5. Maybe the Clippers kind of let Booker do his thing, and they let everyone else do nothing, and then they end up winning the game. I'll go with the over as my thoughts. A couple ways to get there. I think you can end up seeing a pretty high-scoring game. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for all the games on the Friday card. Before we get into the actual lock and dog picks, a reminder they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is Arctic Fantasy. So you can play Fantasy Pick'em, chance of 5 times your entry, pick higher or lower on your favorite player stats. And a reminder, you can also use the new offer that they have for new customers. Play just $5, get $100 bonus funds. Use promo code NBA SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. They're off to a great start in college football and NFL with picks and props. Give away cash prize every week just for tracking your bets in the app. All you have to do is track 5 bets on the same type of model that you build. You can win $1K. No questions asked. Just track bets and you can make $1K. Use the promo code that we have with Rhythm as well for a discount. Code SGPN25. We're down the app for quarter first month. Download Rhythm once again. Promo code SGPN25. Download Rhythm with the code SGPN25 for a quarter off your first month. Welcome back, everyone, to the Gamble Podcast. Finish going through the games for Friday. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks. Lonte, what do you like as your lock and dog for the show?
Yeah, so this number is kind of all over the place, so just make sure you just shop accordingly. First quarter, I love the I forgot hold on, let me get the number.
Wait, your lock's gonna be a first quarter play?
My lock is a first quarter play, yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be Dallas. I'm sorry. Dallas. So minus 2.5 is out there, but 3 is probably the most prevailing number. I think minus 2.5 is like $1.20. But you can get even money on the minus 3. It's also some 3.5s out there if you like the other side. So, I mean, I just think that we talked about it. The Washington Wizards are going to be feisty late. I think early on they get smacked in the mouth by Dallas, who wants to come out and show some fight and show that they weren't, as bad as that performance was. So minus 2 for Dallas, minus 3, I'm sorry, for Dallas first quarter. For the dog, it's not a ton of big dogs that I like. I was going to go with Milwaukee, but that's a little bit too small. So I'm going to take Atlanta in Orlando. I think Atlanta bounces back, and I think they'll have a shot to win the game. So Atlanta plus 170.
Yeah, okay. So for mine, my lock's going to be on the Spurs, minus 3.5. Thought about Wemby points at 27.5, but instead I think I'll just go with the Spurs. I mean, Wemby might drop 50. I'm not even joking. Like, Wemby has an actual case to have a monster game. So you can argue player props might be the way to go, but I don't think New Orleans is good. I thought they looked good early in the game because Memphis no-showed the entire first quarter. They give up a 19-0 run. Jaren Jackson had 6 blocks. I mean, Wemby single-handedly is a matchup problem for this team. Even without Fox, they looked good. Like, really, really good against Dallas. Now, Dallas might have been overrated. We'll see. But the Spurs, in terms of the pace they were playing at, the flow they were actually using offensively, defensively, they gave up 92 points. They were the only team to allow less than 100 in the entire league in their opening game. And New Orleans, really, their jump shooting's not that great. They have a lot of guys that want to attack the rim. Wemby's going to punt half the shots he sees anyway. So I'll go with the Spurs. I'm minus 3.5 as my lock for the show. If you want to parlay that with Wemby points, you can go for some type of angle there. But I like the Spurs in this game as my lock for the show. Now, for the dog, I have to think of what I want to go with because there were a lot of options. I don't think I'm going to go with a side, though, because I didn't really like many dogs outright in the games. So I might end up going for some type of player prop, or I go with Utah, and I just go really bold, and I pick Utah to actually win outright against Sacramento, with Sabonis maybe coming back. The problem is Utah was so bad on the road the last couple of years. The question is, do I really want to actually invest my time in that team? You know what? I think I'm going to do that. I almost went for Giannis points, but his default line's at like 31.5. And I don't know if I want to go for 35 plus. But Okonkwo had a great game against them. Let me just quickly see what Giannis points is at 34.5. Out of curiosity, if it does end up reaching the threshold, it's at plus 164. It does count. But you know what? I'll actually just fade the Kings. I think this team's not very good. I think that Utah proved they actually can be better than people expect. I'll go with Utah money line at plus 165. Same price, basically, as the Giannis 34.5, but Giannis has a back issue. We'll see how he looks, but I'll go for the side angles this time. My lock, I'm going to go with, once again, the Spurs minus 3.5. For the dog, I'm going to go with the Jazz money line at plus 165. Lonte, time for the underdog entry for the show. I'll ask you, first of all, are there any players you want to go after? Do you want to use Wemby in what should be a golden matchup against the Pelicans?
Yeah, we can use Wemby. That'll be fine. I think we both like AD as well, PR higher. I think we both like that one. And then whatever else.
So let me just pull those up quickly. Just so we have that in front of us. So Wemby, for his points, you can find 27.5. We'll take the higher on that. I do like your AD play, especially if Gafford doesn't play. That does help out the rebounding for Davis. So let me quickly just pull up Anthony Davis stuff there. 37.5 for the PR. We'll go with the higher for that one. And I actually saw it in the comments section earlier today, and I don't mind it. Let me just quickly see if it's listed. So underdog is 38.5 for AD PR. We can go with that. I actually like a play that was mentioned in the comments section, which I was eyeing it overnight. Davion Mitchell, his points and assists are at 17.5. He had 28 in game one. He had 16 and 12. He had a double-double. I think it's a good spot for Davion. We think Miami's offense might be pretty good. I think that he's in a good opportunity to play a bunch of minutes with no hero in the lineup. Any issues with Mitchell going higher on the 17.5 PA?
No, I love Mitchell. I love the way that he's able to orchestrate. He's gotten better playing off the ball, which is something that he did a lot at Baylor. And I think that Eric Spoelstra kind of maybe watched some of that film and saw that he's capable of playing off ball a little bit more. So that's why we're seeing the three-guard lineup with Powell, Jovic, and Davion Mitchell. But Davion Mitchell's doing a lot more of the secondary playmaking as well. So I think the opportunities will be there.
Yeah, so that was actually one play, coincidentally, I was eyeing overnight that I do like a bit for the card. Anyway, once again, the underdog entry for the show. We're going to go with Wemby, higher, 27.5 points. We're going to go with AD, higher, 38.5 PR, and Davion Mitchell, higher, 17.5 PA. So we're going to wrap it up for the show. Back once again on Monday. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.
Basketball.